Ian Quinton, I'm actually a pensioner, so I'm glad to know that there's an interest in pensioners. But my question is really about the issue about people making decisions that affect me and my ability to know what they're up to and to know what they're up to in time to influence what they're doing. And so there's an issue too about how democratic the structures are in Europe, but also the level of real scrutiny of them that gives me a chance to know what they're up to and to know how I can influence. Because I have some notion, I have some idea, or can find out what you're up to at Westminster. But I don't believe I really know, and I'm confident that I know what you're up to in the EU. So I just, is the scrutiny effective?
John, as a former MEP, maybe you could go first.
Well, the EU is a mixed democracy. It's principally an indirect democracy in the sense that it has all the member states have their elected heads of government or ministers. When Owen was a minister, he was one of going to the Council of Ministers on Agriculture, and his democratic legitimacy was the fact that he was elected as a UK minister. And then there is the European Parliament, which is a direct democracy. Now, it is an evolving situation from moving from a fundamentally multilateral trade agreements in an EU structure to making those much more overseen by direct democracy. But the idea that the EU is not democratic, all its component governments are democratic. And
what about the Commission?
Well, and the Commission is appointed by elected governments. And the President of the Commission...
The Commissioners are usually failed ministers or sacked ministers. Owen didn't get one because he was actually anti the EU and you didn't want it anyway. But that's how democratic the Commissioners are.
Not all. I mean, quite a few of the Commissioners are former Prime Ministers and things. I mean,
quite a few are failed politicians.
Our ones tend to be failed politicians. That's certainly true. And that's my point. That we have not been, in my view, sending the proper level of people to the European Union for a very long time.
Proper level.
The proper quality of people.
Listen, quickly, a couple of sentence answer, Owen.
This is the fundamental issue of the whole evening. And I said this is why the Reformation. It's who makes our laws and what sort of country we're going to have. There wasn't a day at DEFRA when I had to make a decision just how far I could stretch the rubber band in making a decision which was in the interests of citizens of the UK who'd be affected by it, but which would not risk getting infracted by the European process, clobbered and possibly fined. And my civil servants would keep saying, you can't go that far, we don't do that. And what John has outlined is this myth that it was already a nice, cuddly, friendly commercial arrangement which has somehow morphed into some sort of semi-democratic. It is not democratic. You cannot pool sovereignty. And there's no way, Aileen, you can vote for a good candidate who might be a good commissioner, or if the commissioner fouls up, you can vote to get rid of him. There's absolutely no system, because it's exactly what Jean Monnet created, a supranational arrangement where the democratic nations are overruled.
Vernon.
Well, just let me just directly, just on one thing. There's always an issue about transparency, whether it's a local council actually or a regional government or whoever that people often raise. Just to say this is where a fundamental difference goes back to sovereignty. Of course you can pool sovereignty, and you choose as an independent nation to pool it because you believe you can achieve more by doing that. And that's the fundamental basis of where I start from in terms of why I support the European Union. Can I just say one thing, just as an aside? We've had a couple of really important questions about pensioners and where we go to. I also think we need to look at what it means for the next generation and the generation after that, and where we want all of that to go, and how we speak to the young people of this country who, by and large, when I speak to them, are much more in favour of being part of Europe than generally speaking, much more in favour of being part of the European Union. And I think we need to look forward to the next generation and the generation after that, as well as what we face today. And I think that's a really important question.
Kate, a few final comments, and then what I'm going to do is ask each of you to do.
I have nothing more.
Nothing more to say. So I'm going to ask